Welcome to Mary Sales.
Thanks.
It's good to have you here.
Psyched to be here.
I mostly just wanted to talk about like what running your business is like. I'm sorry. We don't have 5 years because I know there's a lot. You're a very small organization. I know it's like very small over there too. So it's like that takes a lot. You're doing like 30 things. You already saw me when I came to the office. I was like, hi, hello, 1 second while I manage the warehouse and then get prepared for coming in here. Yeah. So I guess the first thing I really want to ask is like, why are you in the Bay Area right now? What brings you down here?
My mom's birthday and hanging out.
That's cool.
And then I have a Miata here that I have to say hi to every once in a while. So I have to jump on that bike and pedal it down here. Yeah. But yeah, I'm from San Francisco, so I come down and see my mom and then get to connect with dear buds and be in my city.
That's cool. Yeah, in the city proper.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
20th and Shotwell, baby.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm right over by Zeitgeist.
Oh, there you go. What?
Yeah. No, so I'm over there. I know exactly where that is.
Yeah.
Good part of town.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Born and raised.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, how long have you been up in the Pacific Northwest then?
Almost 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had the college stint and the post-college travel stint outside of San Francisco or Seattle. And that was great and super fun. And now I think I've officially lived in Seattle as long as I had lived in San Francisco, which is crazy.
Holy shit, okay. Yeah, I'm 35, so I moved here when I was 18. Yeah. So I've been here for 16 years.
You're close.
Yeah, I know. My wife wants to move to New York, and I'm like, just let me get that 18-year mark. Yeah. You know?
Does your boss know about this move?
No.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
it's
So
okay.
we're editing.
I'm not. Yeah.
We're good.
I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not moving right now.
Okay.
But we really are those are the two places we could live.
Wild.
Oh, by the way, Jim. No. I wanted to She really wants to move, and I'm amenable.
Okay.
I love her. Yeah. A lot.
Okay, I have so many questions about where in New York, but let's talk about bikes and bike bags. Yeah. Okay, cool.
So I've got you here, and I use a Swift bag every day, which I'm a little bit biased. So I'm like, I'll show the Swift bag actually. It's not to make anyone jealous, but it's not in production right now. Yeah. And rip, sorry. But it's the Motherloaf, and it's filled with everything that I carry with me. And I was telling you before we started here that I'm out of the house at 7:30 in the morning. I bike down here, and then I'm home by 9:30. And so I'm commuting back into the city. So this has everything it has. It's about to rain, so I have my cute Rivendell sweater, which is on brand. I'm just gonna casually put these in a safe place off camera. My rain pants and Gore-Tex shoe covers. This was my chocolate chip high protein pancakes. So good. Coffee was a pound of raisins. Okay. I ate most of those. Okay. Yeah. Syrup. Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning a lot about you in this moment.
My toolkit that I had made by Harry over at Hungry Bags.
Okay, yeah.
I love this.
Awesome.
It's just everything is in here.
Yeah.
Lunch.
Yep. Great.
Hamburger helper.
Awesome.
with Impossible meat. My mid layer.
Yeah.
My glittery bonnet that my wife crocheted me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Bonnets are fucking fully the rage right now.
They're so great. Well, I mean, I didn't know that. I was like, why are you wearing that? Yeah. And then she's like,
she's stylish.
Yeah, she's Gen Z. I literally am cool because of her. Yeah. And then I don't know why I'm my lock. Yeah.
Are those gloves or socks?
Gloves.
Okay.
Yeah. So the woolly warm gloves. I've got my bagoo within a bagoo for my AirPods.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, actually. Found some Soma 90s stickers.
What?
Would you want some of those?
Yeah, I want at least one.
Yeah, no, you can literally take all of them.
Yes.
And then my saddle cover that's a plastic bag. My rain shell. Literally everything, my whole life is in here.
Yeah, but you haven't pulled out the books.
Oh,
what are the
and
books
then
that you carry?
this is this is a spiritual text, New Seeds of Contemplation. You can get it at your local bookstore. And I'm reading this with a mentor of mine. It's great. And then
That's awesome.
I'm going to cut this off, but
Uh-huh.
that's not going to be in the video.
Yeah.
You can't see what that is. That's why I'm out late every night.
Yeah. Cool.
And then this is really cool. This is made by Ostrich for us, and it's not available yet. And it is a nylon basket cover.
Cool.
So between like
that's
this
awesome.
being padded and also water resistant and
Yep.
this,
Yep.
I don't get any water in here.
Amazing.
And then stationary.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I carry.
I love it.
Yeah, I carry everything in there.
That's super cool.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I like I said, just steal it. They don't know I stole these stickers from
Okay.
here.
I'm just gonna
So you can have, they're really cool
move
too.
them over here.
A lot of people are like saying we need to bring back this logo.
Yeah, well, the 90s are back.
I know. And Stanley's like, God, we had so many people complaining that these were so ugly. And now they want them back. I was like, yeah.
You know what I actually think you should do more than the sticker?
Hmm.
As a temporary tattoo.
You know, I was just, yeah.
It
that'd
just
be
feels
so
right.
It'd be so funny.
It feels very right.
Yeah. So what's a day in the life like?
Yeah. Well, right now we've come full circle. So I started the company in my basement with a sewing machine and a roll of fabric. And now we work in a different home basement 17 years later.
Yeah.
So I make my coffee and I walk my dog and then I walk downstairs into the basement and then my coworker Kelly comes in from West Seattle with her dog and then we just like fucking hit it. We go. And basically like because we had some really, really tough years the last 2 years, we are now a team of 2 people working at Swift, making it all happen. So
You're doing a lot.
it's bonkers.
Yeah, because it's like, I'll email you and it's like right away. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, everybody who's watching this who doesn't get their emails right away, sorry.
Oops.
But yeah, so basically the way that we've partitioned things out at this point is like, I do everything marketing and sales. Like my favorite zone to be in is in like storytelling and brand building. I grew up in countercultures my entire youth and at home growing up and have always loved kind of like building identities around kind of like nuclei of philosophy and shared experience. And so bikes was like a very intuitive segue in that way for me. And I love building our brand around that, from that seedling. So, you know, we do a lot of storytelling. We do a lot of connecting with our community, whether that's like through rides or blog pieces or just like,
The influence of the campouts too.
Oh yeah.
Like that's
big time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Yeah. So we do like, we do a ride series. First Saturday of every single month, we go ride with the community. And somebody from Swift is always there. It's either myself or Jason, who started the company with me, or Beja, who's doing some of our marketing with us. The 3 of us hold that down. If all 3 of us aren't there, then at least 1 or 2 of us are there. And it turns out like such a rad community every single month. And then we've got Stoked Spoke Adventure Series.
Okay, yeah, tell me more about that. I saw something.
Yeah, so like imagine TEDx.
Okay.
So TED Talks.
Okay.
Right? And then imagine bike packing.
Okay.
And mash them up.
So like
we have,
inspirational speakers.
Totally.
With bikepacking being outdoors.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the requisites, the criteria, is that you have to pull together a route.
Okay.
You have to have ridden that route. And you need to come and present a really compelling case for why the community should go ride it. And
that's
so
pretty,
fun.
That's pretty sick.
It's so fun. And we're 9 years into that series. We do it somewhere between 2 and 3 times a year. And it's usually in the winter months. So it's like kind of our antidote to the dark, cold, very rainy months in
like getting
Seattle.
out and
Yeah, so like we're not going bike packing. Most of us aren't going bike packing in that weather, but we sure do love getting together and hanging out, and this is like an amazing excuse for that. So it's basically crowdsourced. Our community, we like put out a community call for folks to submit their routes, and then we kind of like jury or select in just like trying to get like a little bit of like diversity in the destinations and the routes, the people riding, just so that there's like really rich storytelling. And it's so fun. And we've got our first one coming up for the season on February 25th.
Oh, it's gonna be nice.
So it's gonna be super, super lovely.
It's been cold as hell here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it was like 20 degrees in Seattle.
Okay,
today.
so you've had it's
like a little chilly.
It's like high 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels so
I'm from
lovely.
Southern California, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
even like 16 years up here, I do ride in shorts year round, but like
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and then there's Swift Campout. And so that's like another just like a more decentralized community endeavor, truly made possible by social media. Like I think that we were really able to just put a global call to go bikepacking on the summer solstice and see where that led. And that is now 11 years running.
That's
and we get like thousands and thousands of people from like, no joke, all over the world camping that weekend.
Yeah, my friends, Irving, he's part of a little crew called Boys on the Hoods.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I know
so
those kids.
yeah. Like there was
Yeah.
actually the Super Bowl camping trip this last weekend.
Totally.
That I was going to go on and then couldn't make, but like I was biking around and like they were just coming in a wave from that, and like it's a lot of industry people, a lot of like obsessives, and it's all built around like that idea you started.
Totally.
With camping trips.
Yeah, and truly, like, I think the first crews that we saw kind of organizing were the, like, OG crew from Box Dog. So that was a huge influence even before we started. They were doing campouts from the shop. And so, yeah, it's like, that's how culture builds, right? We just keep getting inspired by each other.
And it's been cool, too, because before I was very deep in the bike industry, I was aware of like these Swift campouts. I was like, what's Swift? Like, what does that mean? You know, like, and that's like, I was a total outsider. Like, right. I was, you know, I grew up in a surf culture in Orange County, and I was the kook, and I was definitely the kook with like the bike culture. I was like, I don't even know what's going on, but I knew about Swift campouts, and I had friends who were going and doing things like that. Mm-hmm. And that was probably like right after it started. Mm-hmm. And then over the years, it's really become like my whole group of friends that I'm a part of, which I would say there was like loosely 200 of us in San Francisco in the Bay Area. Yeah. All of them participate in that. Yeah. Like I really got to know them through that, because I know if they're going on the Swift Campout, they're nice people. Mm. You know, yeah, like they're definitely going to do some crazy stuff, bake pizzas drunk. And it's like, but they're all just total sweethearts. Yeah,
it's awesome.
That was my first big overnight campout. Mm-hmm. Was a solstice campout back in 2023. Had I started here or not? Yeah, I'd started here, and so it was really cool going there. Yeah. So it's like we knew that we had like Swift Campout had kind of created its own entity, or like I don't know, like it had momentum the moment that we started getting like variations on the logo for the year, with like an armadillo in Austin and a koala from Australia, and like, you know, they would like, so people would like sub out the fox, which is like always kind of our little iconic little creature. Yeah. For whatever the character was in their neck of the woods, and we were like, "Oh yeah, like this is the people's ride." It's got a life of its own. Totally. Yeah, it's like it's something that you you planted the seeds for, and then it's grown into something much bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, it really is true. Like at first blush, yeah, we're a bag company, and I can wax poetic about bags day in and day out. I can talk about the technicalities of how we're working to make rides smoother, better, more reliable, etc. All that stuff. But really at the end of the day, what I'm building is like community that gets together around bikes and connects. That's what I want. That's like why I show up every day.
See, and that's you know, I mentioned this briefly before we started making the video. You know, I went to and graduated from law school, and I was working at a tech company on the legal team, and it was as much fun as it sounded when I said it. It wasn't. And I was like, kind of, I'd been involved in the bike world, but I really got involved around that time. And
when was that?
That was, I got really back into the bike scene. I've been biking on and off for years here, but I got back into it in 2019, and then I became a home mechanic in 2020. Mostly because I'm impatient. I was raised as an only child, so I was just like, I'm gonna fix this or break this.
Yeah. And
then I was fully working on my bike, like with the camera off during work meetings by like 2022. Yeah. And then, and I was just like, I really enjoyed it, and you know, I mentioned this like it's for context. Like I lost my dad in 2022, and I was like, oh, okay, so what am I doing? Like I work at a job I hate, and I'd always loved all the people I'd met in the bike industry, and so I started working at a bike shop, and then I met Jim through mutual friends, and he was like, we're hiring. Do you want to, you know? And so it's been really fun. Like I'm in bikes because I like the community around it, you know, like I like I don't know, like Jim, something that Jim said to me early on was something I really liked too. He said, you know, if it's niche and there's not much money in it, I'm interested. Yeah. I love it. You know, and so it's like that's kind of the spirit of like why we get into things.
And that's
like,
why we know each other.
Yeah, right. And it's like I'm definitely not like, I don't have like a healthy retirement as a result of being here. Sure. But I do enjoy what I do. I love all the questions that come in. Like I love the people who are like curious about bikes and want to know more. And like some of my best friends have been met through bikes, like that community you're talking about. Yeah. So I get that. Yeah. You know, and like in tough times, it's seeing a familiar face. Just like on the way into work today, I ran into two different friends commuting in by bike. It's the best. You know, and like I saw Berto, and then I saw Irving.
Oh, and, sick.
Yeah, because he lives like down kind of where, like a little bit further near like Cesar Chavez, and seeing him, I'm just like, oh, okay, my day's gonna be okay. Yeah. I've gotten to know you, and I've met some folks who worked for you, and like a lot of people have gotten to know you, and like Jason, and like your side of the company, and I wanted to know a little bit more about the folks who make the bags based off the patterns that you made. Like what can you tell me about that? If it's like trade secret, like don't, whatever. Yeah, you're like, all right, I'm telling you nothing. No, I'm just... I know you, and I've talked to you, and like that giant bag that I like exploded all over the table. Totally. It's like every time I like load that up, I'm like, oh, that's really sweet. Like Martina's so nice, you know? But yeah, I'd kind of like to know a little bit about the folks in Indonesia, and like what you can tell, and whatever. Totally.
Well, so maybe a little bit of backstory. Yeah. At the beginning of the pandemic, and not by like calculus in that way, like that wasn't an intentional timing. We had already been trying to figure out how to take our production overseas. And, you know, we could probably do an entire episode just on that, you know, like, for the first 6 years, almost 10 years of running my company, I had a hand in every single bag that went out the door. And so, like, I think it's a really compelling and often oversimplified story.
Yeah.
Like the complexities of scaling a business, growing a business, things like financial wants from my end changing and evolving, you know, all of the kind of stepping stones of our story at Swift that brought us to wanting overseas production are, again, another episode.
Yeah.
But here we are in basically 2020, really understanding the limitations and bumping increasingly into the limitations of sourcing US made. And understanding that we wanted, they were really getting in the way of how we wanted to grow our company and the vision we have for this kind of kooky bike bag company that we have. We think that there's like a ton more potential for what we can do and how we can reach people. And again, I'm so mesmerized by like the culture building side of things. Like, I just want to keep building it and shaping it. And as challenging to like the growth of a company is when like you just can't get a reliable stream of product in the door. So we were just like really bottlenecked in that way. And so we started really digging deep and thinking about going overseas, what that needed to look like, and how on earth we were gonna try to navigate that. We knew a couple things. So we knew that it couldn't be that hard because that's where most people make things.
Yeah, I mean,
we didn't know anything about what that looked like at that time, but that was of some consolation. And then we also knew, like, you know, we have all heard horror stories of overseas production. And I will say also, I'm just going to put this out there, like, US manufacturing doesn't look a whole lot better sometimes.
I've seen US manufacturing.
It can be pretty grim.
It's not, let's just say that there's a reason a lot of folks aren't lining up to make things domestic. It's not good in a lot of places.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also, like,
well said.
My experience has been that some of the worst made things I've ever had are US made, and some of the best made things I've had are US made.
Yeah.
And it's
like
it really is
the gamut.
You get what you pay for. It doesn't matter country of origin. It matters the level of skill, and it just the most beautiful frame I've ever seen laid eyes on is the frame that I ride, and it took a day.
You're in love with that thing.
I saw my first Atlantis locked up on Mission Street in 2008 as a college student.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that bikes could be that beautiful.
Aww.
And I then looked up the price, and I realized I would never have one.
But then, not true.
No, well then August, like, I kept sending links of it to my parents. I'm like, isn't this a beautiful bike? Isn't this beautiful? And I was super bummed out and sad in 2022. And I was like talking about it, and my mom's like, I know it's not gonna like fix anything, but would you want a frame? I was like, well, my dad said never turn down free money.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's
that's
everything.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so it's like the most beautiful bike I personally have ever seen, and it took a master craftsman a day to make, like ovalizing that second tube and like Philip brazing it. That's made in Taiwan.
Yeah.
You know, like. Yeah. But I also have seen the bikes made by Adam Sklar.
Right.
And Chapman Cycles and CSIP is over here, and like Rock Lobster, and they are flawless. Yeah. Just like the one that I've seen made in Taiwan.
It's not where, it's probably more who.
Exactly.
And how. So, you know, we knew that like we wanted to be super cognizant and aware of working conditions. You know, I think it's worth saying that like environmental impacts to the planet and to the people working start kind of even upstream from the factories that are producing. That's like milling, that is producing the textiles, it's all of those things. But even when we were talking about which factories we were down to support, we were really looking for factories that, I mean, it feels like I shouldn't even have to spell this out, but, that offered excellent environment to work in, clean air, like, just amazing resources for their workforce.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted to make sure that it was a factory and a workplace with a lot of integrity at the end of the day. And then COVID lockdown happened. So all that really meant, what that meant in that moment of our journey was that we couldn't go and vet factories ourselves. That was like a little dizzying at first. But then we started working basically with a middle entity.
Okay. We do that. Like, we have our agent in Japan, and we
Totally.
trust Nori absolutely.
Yeah,
we've Cindy in Taiwan. Like, it's...
Yeah. This team based in Seattle, we're on the phone with them multiple times a week. They really are the ones who are working between ourselves and the factories. Well, the factory, but also doing a lot of our sourcing for materials. This group, Carry Gear, they work for all kinds of different companies, mostly in the outdoor space, to help these companies that actually, Swift is a little unique in that we are a soft goods company. What they often do is they work with an outdoor company whose specialty may not be soft goods, who wants to bring in a line of soft goods.
And then they help with like the designing, the materials choices, because that's their expertise.
Totally. And then they find the most suitable factory partner.
Okay.
Again, according to like each company's criteria. So they have, they have a really amazing accounts. They've got Orvis, they do like, just very established outdoor brands. Go to them. And then they work with independents like us, like Swift. And they did actually have their own bike bag company for a time. So this is not new to them. They know what we're looking for. They know the unique characteristics and the demands. And also have been huge eye-openers for us on like even advancements that we can be making in our bags and the technology behind our bags. Because we were producing everything in-house and then domestically, where there isn't more advanced tooling and machinery and equipment, we have had like a very limited library
of what we can do.
And that is about to just like really open up in a huge way.
Really exciting.
Yeah, because Surabaya, where our bags now are made, has an incredible and robust business community that's all really, really focused on soft goods development. So technology is there, innovation is happening there, mills are close by, kind of like all of that infrastructure that it takes to feed the entire holistic view of a really thriving economy is like in proximity. And that's one of the things that has been such a huge challenge in soft goods in the US. Because yes, things exist. You can find a company that's milling in the US. You can find factories that are willing to do cut and sew in the US. But things are so spread out. They're so individual. It's not cohesive. It's just a lot of coordination.
It's like you have 10 to 20 essentially subcontractors or contractors that provide all of the materials to make, say, this bag right here,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to have them all sent to you, make sure it works out,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to in Surabaya, they're down the street,
Mm-hmm.
you can get a sample, they can work with it, they can see if it works with your design,
Yeah.
rather than, expensive mistake potentially.
Totally.
Yeah, and lost materials, lost bags, waste. Less waste, more efficient, and for what you're saying, offering an even wider scope of what you can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those kinds of things, like those opportunities are like super exciting, and as like a product designer, like really get my imagination going in like super, super fun ways. So those are some of the things. And then like the factory side of things, I still haven't gone to the factory to visit. I really hope that I get the chance
really cool.
to. But I have gotten to meet the team from the factory at Outdoor Retailer. And then I have this incredible close connection through Carry Gear. So we're like always in conversations. And it really at this point feels like we are working as a team
together.
And
are you prototyping or doing stuff like in your basement situation? So like you're prototyping, testing things out, and then they're like, oh, have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about very much a back
and forth?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, so we get to go to the offices at Carry Gear. We like look at this, that, and the other feature. I'll bring them a sample. We kind of riff off of each other, and you know, they have this incredible wealth of knowledge, having worked with so many different companies in different industries, and understanding the infrastructure that's available in these factories that I've like never even seen. That then they can make like amazing recommendations, and it's so fun. And then, you know, one of the things that was really interesting about this transition was that folks noted, rightly, that our prices didn't really go down when we went overseas. And, you know, that was very much a result of having chosen these really, really high integrity factories.
Absolutely.
So the margins that, you know, maybe are the thing of legend.
I know that they don't exist.
Yeah,
it's like between
they
freight.
can, depending on where you make a product.
If you wanted to pick a place where profit having the greatest margin was the sole focal point, you'd quality of working conditions, etc. I mean, we get a lot of people who say, well, why isn't this less, or why isn't that less, or why isn't that less? Well, I mean, take for example like the Uno bar end shifter from like that was made by Diacompi, and those are years long conversations with Rivendell and with Russ at Path Less Pedaled, and with Jim, and then the tooling, buying all of that, then amortizing it and passing it along, the marketing, all of the things that went into all of that. There's a reason why that's $150.
Right.
And I understand that isn't inexpensive, but it's also made to a very high standard in wonderful working conditions. And we have a close personal relationship with them, and if there's any issues, we can deal with it directly. And it's not like it's made by some, you know, unknown entity. It is made by a premier manufacturer. Yeah. It comes at a cost. Yeah. We'd love, I mean, as I said earlier, like Jim said, like if it's niche and there's not a lot of money in it, we're interested, but we need to have enough money to pay us and like keep the lights on.
Yes. Yeah. Because like the moment that the company isn't, like the company and the companies that like serve into it aren't taking care of the people along the entire, I don't know, path.
Pipeline. You know, whatever, the production cycle, whatever. Yeah,
then you've got like real problems. And I think those are the problems, I think, that our customers are really invested in being critical of and attentive to. And it is so much more expensive than we know as consumers, as the average consumer.
I was in the dark until I started working here, and then like I came to understand, you know, we sell to the consumer at this price. I'd say that our business is split 50-50. So it's 50% consumers and then 50% distributor wholesale.
Yeah.
To offset that, we have to take into account what it was that went into it with, again, the tooling. Like I was talking to Jim about how cool it'd be to have a particular kind of stem from Nito. And like, oh man, like this certain length, that certain angle, this degree, it's not available. We could corner the market. $25,000 for the tooling for that one length.
Yes.
With that one, you know,
Yeah.
25,000, and I was thinking 7 of them.
Right.
And I was like, oh, it's 170. It's
Yeah.
almost with everything involved, it'd be $250,000 to have the 7 or 8 options and stems that I was interested in. So okay, $250,000. How many stems? The rest of my life,
right?
You know. So it's like, I and another thing we have a lot of people who email us and say, put me in contact with the factory. I'd like to put an order in. I'm gonna order a bunch of them, like 10 or 20.
Right.
Well, so I mean, MOQs. We're ordering 100, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Totally.
We're thinking in 2026 and 7 right now, and we're still paying bills from 2024. So it's just like, so anytime we look at a new project, we're like, all right, well, where are our resources right now? Where do we, who do we need to pay next?
Yeah.
It's not just simple, and I thought it was.
Yes. Yeah. And like, I mean, of course we thought it was, because we haven't been exposed to the complexities of the supply chain and the complexities of running small businesses, on like the average person or the average consumer. So it is interesting just to have these conversations that hopefully get somebody out in the world thinking a little bit differently about where their stuff is coming from and
why we haven't answered emails in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I get a lot of those. Yeah. And I'm like, it's like literally me and 3 other people.
Yeah, totally.
And that's one of our jobs.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about what sets Mary Sales apart from other distributors.
Well, we've been in business since 1906. So everyone thinks of us as, they think of Soma Fabrications first. And then Mary Sales, I tell Jim and all the guys, I'm like, no one knows who we are. Like they know Soma Fabrications, but Soma Fabrications wasn't founded until 2001. And, I can start from there and then kind of move backwards. So Soma Fabrications, we used to work with QBP to have Breezer bikes made. And then that ended. But we all had the relationships in Asia.
Okay.
And so they started Surly and we started Soma. And
I had no idea.
Okay. And so, and everything's cool with Breezer. Like it's just, different direction. But, Surly started and then we started because we're like, well, why not? We have the relationships. And so now 30 to 35% of essentially of our revenue is from Frank's.
Yeah.
And his family has had relationships in Asia since we started.
Right.
That's where we started, is we started bringing things in from Asia in 1906. So, when I say like, oh yeah, we work with Nito, we work with Tongay, we work with whatever, we've been working with them. I mean, we've been working with Tongay probably since they were Tongay Iron Works, which is how they were founded in 1920. When I say we've been working with Nito, I mean, we've been working with, there were so many skilled craftsmen in Japan, and the Nito kind of like just came out ahead of the rest of them. But we were selling Nito and everyone else before it was important that it was Nito.
Right.
When Jim likes talking about this, his grandfather took over the business in 1935 from Edwin Mary after he passed away. Edwin Mary passed away, and his wife and kid, they weren't all that interested in maintaining a relationship with the business, so they sold it to Jim's grandfather. I think what sets us apart is there are a lot of like young upstarts that have only been around for 50 years, but we've been around since 1906. And so we have a wealth of information.
Right.
We've been around, we've weathered 2 world wars and all the conflict since then. And we've continued to be laser focused on getting people on bikes.
Yeah.
So when I was talking to Jim about something,
cool.
I was talking about a project we were working on that wasn't going to work. The designer and I, we didn't see eye to eye on it. And I said, I really think this is a special project. He said, Luke, nothing amazing has happened in bikes since we went to a 31/8 clamp diameter 25 years ago. And I was like, I trust you, because I was like, that's so, like, damn. I was like, that is really harsh, but he's seen it all. You know, like, you met Mary and Jim have never worked anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, Dan, same. Like, they were kids in high school working at the Soma when we were in South of Market in the city. And they've always been here. Like, this is just always where they've been. So they have all that institutional knowledge. You know, we have, between Stan and Dan and Mary and Jim, we have about 150 years of experience in the bike industry.
So wild.
It is.
So amazing.
And we're only, what is it, about 8 people? You know, we really are small.
Yeah.
And so it's been like a really amazing experience working here. And like, I try to talk to people about how special it is and why we're different. But most of the time, people ask me where I work. They're like, oh, I hear you work in the bike industry. Specialized?
Right.
I'm like, I'm not going to Morgan Hill.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, do you work for Giant or Trek? Or, you know, they just name. And I'm like, no, I work for Mary Sales. Like, who? Yeah. I'm like, Soma Fabrications? Who? So the people who know that, they're like, people who work in bike shops or really love bikes.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like, it's,
yeah.
I keep finding my people, but, you know, we've been working closely with Rivendell since the mid-90s, and it's a very mutually beneficial relationship where we've really helped each other out in a lot of cases. And, you know, Jim has relationships with, like, when Made started. It's like, oh, I know who it is who started Made. I've known him for like 25 years. Like, it's just, we've known all these people, and it's been really cool. Like, Jim, I've never seen Jim more gleeful or happy when he's going to Taipei to go to the shows. Yeah. Like, he's been traveling the world for over 30 years, going to all the major bike shows. And that's why, like, and so since we have the relationships that we do with manufacturers around the world, we're able to bring things in with smaller quantities to see, like, if there's a space in the market. You asked me why we're special. I think it's just because we are able to, with our know-how and industry knowledge, bring certain things to the consumers that wouldn't see the light of day otherwise. And not because they're not good. Right. You know, these things are great, but we're able to facilitate and we're willing to take the financial risk and bring it over here so that folks can get exposed to that cool stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like it.
So then, follow-up question.
Okay.
Why do you think that Mary Sales and Swift are a good match?
Well, I think because we're a small business and we understand the needs of small business. We love working with small businesses that make really high quality products. You know, like, for me, and this is, I'm going to be cutting a bunch of this, but like, non-salesy Luke, I don't know, I really like you guys. Oh. I really like your, I really like you're sincere and genuine and nice people. And, you know, we have a mutual friend, my friend Patrick used to work for you. And I've never met someone, like, I know you guys were going through a lot of, like, downsizing and changes and whatever. And he was, like, after that all happened, he's like, yeah, you know, it just didn't work out, but man, they are some of the nicest goddamn people I've ever met in my life. And I'm so glad I worked for them. Yeah. I've never heard anyone that, like, after, like, a bit of downsizing anywhere had anything nice to say. And anyone I've talked to who's worked with you is like, oh yeah, they're great people. I love them so much, you know? And, like, people buy your bags and buy them again and buy them again. And it's not just because they're well made, it's because they know who you are and they like what you're about. Yeah. You know? And so, like, when Jim, you know, you came by and Jim was like, what do you think about Swift? And I was like, I've never heard anything other than they're fucking wonderful. You know? And the bags that I'd seen, Patrick had come by my bike shop that I worked at, and it's just like so I was like, oh, that's what that pocket's for.
Yeah.
And I've never felt that way with a bag.
Yes.
I've never felt that way where like I pick up a bag and I'm like, oh, I totally understand.
Oh.
So for me, that is like why I love Swift. And so when Jim was asking like, do we carry this? I was like, well, my buddy Patrick worked there, and all I know is that he loved working for them. Yeah, so I was like, oh, well, Swift, yeah, let's do that. And Jim's like, great, because I was already going to order it. He does that a lot where he's like, what do you think? Do a bunch of market research. And I'm like, oh, here you go. He's like, well, I was already going to order it, but I'm glad you like it too. Okay. But then...
I mean, you don't want to be idle at work.
No. He keeps that...
Yeah.
I love you, Jim. But he like keeps me super busy with a lot of different things. But I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think that really it's like, you guys have great heart, you have great product, and it's cool to be like, to work together to both be more successful. Like I think there's this very American idea that the stronger person can do it all alone. And I'm like, no, and like, yeah, like, does it benefit us to carry your bags? Absolutely. They like, it's not even hard to sell them. Like, people just buy the hell out of them, and bike shops especially. But like, it's cool to like have a hand in your success, and like, you help us out because people will come to our site specifically for the fact that we have Swift.
Yeah, it's like the more that I'm in business, the more I like am actually way more interested in hearing about like what the ambitions of like a bike shop are, and the founders behind a bike shop, or the people behind Mary Sales, and like just understanding that like every single order that we push out the door, we hope gets like people closer to like what your ambitions, like the people that we're just like so invested in seeing everyone around us thriving. Those are the questions that are so much more interesting to me now, and like what drives the relationships. And it would feel strange if it wasn't that way.
No, I mean, that's,
I guess, I don't know.
That's how I feel like it should be. I was glad to do the bag reveal of like,
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I have so much shit in here.
It's great.
Yeah, it was really
there's like no better way to illustrate how much can happen inside that Motherloaf. And I do wonder like if we can like inspire a pre-order and get a run of Motherloafs going.
That for me,
that would be insane.
That would be really cool. Like, because these bags, like, I have a lot of people who like, if I like post something on like social media with this, they're like, oh, where'd you get that? Like, I'm like, well, it's a Swift bag. They're like, yeah, I know, but like, how'd you get that?
Right.
And I'm like, well, Weston, and like, and like, you can't get them.
You can't.
But yeah, it's like I live my life on my bike.
Camera?
Yeah, know your panniers. If you don't have to.
Well, so here's the story. The Junior Ranger pannier, we knew, so we used to have like a whole lineup of panniers.
Yeah.
And then as things changed and people went like way to the other side of things, went totally rackless,
frame bags,
etc., then we kind of like really edited down our pannier offerings, and the Junior Ranger like really like just stayed. That is like an anchor. We love that bag. And then there are like some things about it that we kept being like, we could make this so much better. So we kind of took this moment this year to let the inventory that we had sell. And we are right now in like the pre-production sampling.
Like you were talking about the access you have, the like innovation you have, everything that Surabaya offers you.
Totally.
Yeah.
And like just to temper expectations, like it will be a recognizable Junior Ranger. It will not be.
Damn. No.
It will not look like a Zeppelin.
No. Because I was emailing you mostly because I was like, I want to have a matching like coyote set.
Totally.
Because I'm full rack.
They'll be back.
Cool.
They will probably be back as Lone Rangers.
Okay.
Just to make them a little bit more versatile and
you mean like you buy
accessible.
as a single?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean like that. I think that's a great call.
And a couple of feature changes, and then we'll be back up and running with Surabaya made Lone Rangers.
And when? Sometime. Yeah. Okay. I know we were talking about that earlier. Like when people ask me when, I'm like,
yeah.
If I don't know just a specific order date, I always say 3 to 6 months.
Totally. And because our cycle, since they're still in sample sewing and we haven't even approved the finals yet, then once an order is in, because we're in Surabaya, we get something like 30 extra days on the water.
Okay.
As compared to China. So we're in like more like the 6 to 8 month range, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
So like it would be a dream for these to be here by the fall, and probably realistically we're talking about 2026.
Probably this time next year.
Probably.
I mean, that's cool. No, that's all I got for you.
Sweet.
Thanks for coming
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for this.
Yeah, and then Bart or getting soaked?